Do you ever wonder why one person's able to stop an unhealthy habit while another is unable to, or maybe even requires treatment or therapy to stop? Well, in the late 1970s, two researchers, Prochaska and DiClemente, investigated this question. They looked at two different groups of smokers. One group were able to stop smoking on their own, while another group required treatment. What they discovered was that the group that was able to stop on their own managed to do so because they were ready. That clarity allowed them to make that decision and be able to move on from an unhealthy habit. Now, this sounds a bit obvious. When you're ready to stop something, it's much easier to do so. But what they discovered was that the process to actually make a change was more of a gradual process instead of an instantaneous one. This has since become known as the stages of change, or more formally, the trans-theoretical model, TTM. This model can be very useful in understanding the process of moving on from an unhealthy habit or even overcoming an addiction. There are 5 stages in this model: pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. So in this video, we're gonna walk through each stage of this and help you better understand how you can apply it in your life. Now quickly, if you are someone who has an unhealthy habit with gaming or technology and you want personal help to be able to overcome this in your life, then I'd love to help you do that. You can go to gamequitters.com/apply and apply for a personal coaching session with me to help you gain more of that clarity, to help you make that decision and build a game plan to move on for good. So if you want my personal help, go to gamequitters.com/apply, and I'd love to book a call with you today. The stages of change can be viewed as a cycle. Often people will go through these stages in order, but sometimes they might bounce from one to the other. For each stage, there's specific strategies that you can implement, whether it's for yourself or it's for a loved one, to help them become more aware and move through each stage. So here's what it can look like. Let's start with pre-contemplation. With pre-contemplation, you are at a point where you're not necessarily recognizing that there is a problem with your behavior. Often, denial is a big feature of this stage. People around you, such as your family members, a therapist, or even your friends, may be telling you there is a problem, but you're not ready yet to recognize that. You may describe your behavior as just fun, and reducing or quitting isn't really on your radar. For people in this stage, building more awareness of the need for change is really important. The next stage is contemplation. In this stage, you might be thinking a bit more that a change might be necessary, but there are barriers that are holding you back from making it. You haven't yet made the decision that you want to change, but you're just becoming more open to the idea. Often for people in this stage, receiving more education that's non-judgmental and helps them become more aware of their behavior, how it can be a problem, and the potential for benefits if they stop is helpful. For you, it might be doing a pros and cons list, where you can better understand the pros of changing and also identify the cons, because if you end up creating strategies to deal with the cons of stopping, then it might encourage you to actually take action. So if you're curious to learn more, check out my video on the pros and cons of gaming. The next stage is preparation. This is where you're beginning to prepare for the event that you're going to make a change. For one of my clients, he's about to start a 30-day detox from gaming. So we're working on what different activities he will do. How's he going to talk with his friends? What about how will he spend time with his girlfriend, because she lives in another state and they use the computer and sometimes games to connect. In preparation, you're building your plan. You're getting ready to commit to that action. And in this stage, you might also be leaning on support like friends and family or a therapist to help you as well. The next stage is action. In this stage, you're implementing your plan. You're removing that unhealthy habit from your life. You're developing new habits and new behaviors, and you're beginning to be able to talk about that unhealthy habit as something that was negatively impacting your life. Often this stage might be a bit stressful. You're learning things that are challenging for you to be able to move on. Maybe you're experiencing urges or cravings, and you're having to identify where your plan is maybe needing to be adjusted. It's crucial in this stage that you have support and that you learn new coping strategies for stress. The next stage is maintenance. In this stage, you are continuing to engage in habits and behaviors that support your recovery. You've learned the different challenges you need to navigate, and you've become better at doing that. In this stage, one of the risks can be that you become complacent. You think that, oh, I can maybe just start to play a little bit, or I can have a cheat day. And so it's important when you're in this stage that you're mindful of where some of these thinking patterns can come in, and make sure that you're staying on track with the behaviors and the habits that are supporting you to live your best life, and being mindful of the ones where you start to fall back into old patterns. So those are the 5 stages of change, but there's actually a bonus stage I want to touch on, and that stage is relapse. Sometimes when you're changing a behavior, moving on from an unhealthy habit, you may make progress for a period of time, but then you might slip up. You might relapse back into old patterns. This can be a normal process of change, and sometimes this is actually necessary for you to really recognize the negative impact old patterns are having in your life. Relapse can be difficult, it can be really frustrating, and it can be devastating for people around you. But it's also important to recognize the role it can play in helping you recognize more of where you need to truly be moving on, and finding that adjustment in the plan and in your recovery as you go forward as well. In my experience, I relapsed once, and although it was really challenging for me, it taught me a lot about where I needed to make some changes, and ultimately that's what I've been able to do. And over the last 10 years, I've been able to avoid a second one. So those are the stages of change, and everyone will go through them at their own pace. Some of these stages will apply to you more than others. It's just important to recognize where you're at, and then implement those specific strategies based on the stage that you're at to help you be able to move forward through the cycle into one where you're in recovery and you're just thriving in your life. As you go through these stages and you're making these positive changes, be sure to reward yourself. Sometimes that can be just by celebrating a small win. Sometimes that can be having a big reward for the different stages that you get to. For example, if you're doing a digital detox, that could be crossing off each day as you make progress. It feels nice to see that you're making progress towards your goal, and you get that little bit of a reward of saying, I completed today. Rewards can also be things just like high fives and praise. It can be self-talk that's positive for yourself. It doesn't have to be big things, but some of those small rewards do make a difference and give you that positive feedback along the way. So those are the stages of change, and I hope that you found that valuable. If you're new here, hit like, hit subscribe, and leave a comment. What stage are you at? Maybe it's around changing an unhealthy habit with gaming or technology, or maybe it's something else. I love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Now I want to leave you with this, one of my favorite quotes. Steve Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." So you have to trust the dots will connect somehow, some way in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. So as we wrap up today's video, what dots need to connect for you to make that next big change in your life? I hope maybe this video was a dot for you, and I wish you all the best as you go forward. Until next time, peace.